Brexit was hailed as a bold leap toward freedom, or condemned as a reckless gamble with Britain's future. Now, 5 years later, something surprising is happening. New polls reveal a growing wave of regret that could reshape the entire conversation. But is it too late to reverse course, or are we on the cusp of a dramatic plot twist that no one saw coming? If you've ever wondered whether the United Kingdom's decision to leave the European Union was worth it, you're not alone. With a pandemic, a major war in Europe, and shifting public opinion all colliding, the Brexit debate has gone from celebration and heartbreak to a world of questions. Why have so many changed their minds? What happens if a critical mass of the public decides this entire project was a mistake? And could the UK ever make its way back into the EU's fold, or forge an entirely new path? In today's deep dive, we'll reveal polling data, explore the reasons behind shifting attitudes, and uncover the political dilemmas no one seems eager to face. By the end, you'll see just how unpredictable Brexit's legacy might become, and why some believe this story is far from over. 5 years ago, fireworks and street parties lit up parts of the UK, while other communities gathered in quiet protest. The break from the EU wasn't just a bureaucratic adjustment, it felt like the end of one era and the dawn of another. Yet now, the initial fanfare has faded. Polls are picking up signs of disillusionment, even among some of those who once championed leaving. But here's where it gets intriguing. A portion of the population still staunchly defends Brexit, claiming the real benefits will unfold in time. Are we simply in a rough transitional patch, or have unrealistic promises led to an irreversible sense of betrayal? Let's start with the numbers. A January 2025 YouGov poll found that only 30% of Britons still believe leaving the EU was the right move, while 55% think it was the wrong decision. That's nearly a 2-to-1 margin against Brexit, marking the lowest support recorded by YouGov to date. But here's the twist. Even some who initially voted to leave have changed their tune. About 1 in 6 Leave voters say they wish they had chosen differently. Could that small yet significant shift eventually tip the political scales? More telling still is that this trend isn't new. Experts like Professor John Curtis have been noting the same downward slope in Brexit support for over 2 years. So how deep does this regret go, and is there any sign it might reverse? Some argue that external factors, like the COVID-19 pandemic and the conflict in Europe, have created extra chaos, making it impossible to fairly judge Brexit's success or failure. Others say these challenges have only exposed the downsides faster. The war put pressure on supply chains, trade relationships and diplomatic ties, highlighting the UK's more isolated position outside the EU's economic shield. At the same time, the pandemic ravaged public health systems worldwide, meaning any direct impact from Brexit got blurred with universal struggles. But if global crises truly masked Brexit's outcomes, why do the latest polls show such a consistent lean toward regret? Is it possible that underneath the global upheaval lies a core dissatisfaction that refuses to go away? When people talk about regret, the economy often tops the list. Businesses have reported headaches dealing with increased paperwork and shipping delays. Smaller companies in particular say they're bogged down by new regulations. According to the Office for Budget Responsibility, OBR, the UK's long-term economic potential is projected to be about 4% lower than if it had stayed in the EU. This loss stems largely from reduced trade in goods. OBR also predicts imports and exports could sit roughly 15% below where they might have been otherwise. Critics of Brexit see these metrics as evidence that the promised economic independence isn't panning out. On the other side, some maintain that in the long run, the UK will thrive by forging new global trade agreements. But how long is too long to wait for those gains? Immigration was a major rallying cry for Brexit supporters, who expected a dramatic decline in net migration. While EU migration has indeed dropped, non-EU migration has surged, propelling overall net migration to record highs. So how did an issue that was supposed to unify the Leave camp become a point of frustration? Some say labour shortages in sectors like healthcare and agriculture forced the UK to open alternative pathways, effectively replacing EU workers with non-EU hires. Others believe the government has chosen to quietly embrace higher immigration to prop up the economy. Either way, the outcome feels like a paradox. Britain left the EU largely to control immigration, yet saw numbers soar from elsewhere. Could this unravel the core argument that led many to vote leave in the first place? Despite the numbers showing growing scepticism, the major parties in Westminster appear hesitant to reopen the conversation. The Labour Party has shifted its message from Stop Brexit to Make Brexit Work, ruling out any immediate attempt to rejoin the single market, customs union, or the EU entirely. Meanwhile, the Conservatives, who championed Brexit, are unlikely to do an about-face. Smaller parties like the Liberal Democrats may hint at closer EU ties, but it seems no mainstream political force wants to risk national turmoil by pushing a second referendum. Does this political caution mean Brexit regret will remain a talking point rather than a real catalyst for change? Or will growing public dissatisfaction eventually force the government's hand? Beyond immediate disappointments, demographic shifts might be the slow-burning fuse that reshapes the Brexit story. Younger voters are more pro-EU, while older ones, who mostly backed Leave, are gradually leaving the electorate. With each new wave of eligible voters, the REJOIN sentiment naturally grows. But will that translate into a serious move to realign with the EU, or even push for re-entry? Some predict incremental steps, like rejoining certain EU programs, adopting closer trade standards, or forging specialized pacts. Others foresee a bigger confrontation down the line if public opinion continues to diverge from political caution. Is the country ready for another grand debate on Europe, or too weary of the turmoil that comes with it? Stick around to see how these polls, these promises, and these shifting opinions could shape Britain's future. Is Brexit heading for a soft rewrite, or will it remain as it is? Let's hear from people who are living with Brexit's effects every single day. Business owners, students, healthcare workers, and more. The question, was Brexit the right choice, may feel more relevant than ever, and the answers aren't as straightforward as some might think. If you've found this breakdown helpful, consider sharing with friends or colleagues, and make sure to subscribe. Feel free to add your thoughts, theories and questions in the comments. Until next time, don't get caught up in the BS. See you in the next video.